See all this crud down here? You need to have a good, clean surface. And, well, the floor is not particularly clean. But I have an idea for that. So I've got the framing for the floor completed, well, almost completed. I gotta do one more step because let me show you something. I kind of outsmarted myself. You'll notice along the bottom here, along the bottom edge of some of the areas, I've got 2x4s. My thought was that I'd be able to attach any wall board to those up above the level of the floor. Which, you know, great idea, except for one problem. That leaves this whole section here unsupported. So now I got to go back through and tack some extra boards in there. Minor delay, but I was hoping to have the floor cut by now. Back to work. lucky and it stopped raining long enough for me to do some work today. Earlier on, you can see where I dry fitted all the boards, and I'll insert a couple of pictures here of my very amateur foam insulation job. Let's just say it doesn't work great for the floor because you can't keep the cans upright the way you're supposed to, so as a result I think I was getting a lot of clumping and velocity issues and yada yada yada. Anyway, nonetheless, it's done and it actually looks pretty good. I think it's going to do what I want it to do, but I also got the rest of the floor down. Let me show you. So here's the floor. I used 1932 plywood, sheathing plywood. Doesn't have to be fancy. We'll be putting a much nicer floor over the top, probably something in vinyl. I used 1.25 inch star bits, exterior grade, actually deck screws. Probably could have gone a little bit longer. I've got some gaps here because, like I say, I am not a professional. If I was a professional, you wouldn't see any of this. I would cover it up before I showed it to you. Anyway. But yeah, there are some gaps in here. None of these gaps are any places that are going to be critical. This one might get some filler here, because it's wide and this is going to be a high traffic area. This is going to be right in the middle of my kitchen and across from my bedroom. But other than that, we got everything in. I used 3 tubes of Liquid Nails Fuze-It. And yeah. Of course, here's all my walls that I didn't bother to clean because I'm going to be covering them. Lock mechanism. Look in here. See, there's a little lift latch. Lifts this latch up here. Probably can't see that right enough, but that's okay. Everything still works. The door's still closed. Very much going to want to get a better door handle on that because opening that from the inside kind of not great. All this here will be boxed in eventually. I intend to put a tall closet at the back end. Although, this area here, I almost want to make this the office. I'm debating about having an office at all. You see, I hate having space that I'm not going to be using for most of the time. Although when I'm camping, I don't use most of it. I'm mostly outside. But the idea here is to have a mobile office that I can work from and make longer trips cross country. So having an office that's dedicated to be a place where I can park my butt for 8 hours a day, probably not a bad idea. So yeah, I mean, the design is still in a little bit of flux. I'm definitely going to put the shower here. I just received the shower pan in the mail. It's 24 by 32 and this is 26 inches across. So the door in the front is a little bit offset. I don't know if you can tell that from the camera. As compared to the door in the back, which is exactly in the middle of the wall. But it gives me a little more room for a shower pan here. So 24 by 32 will take it about out to here. Then of course we'll have a tall wall which will house the all the plumbing. Countertop here, probably the sink very close to it, for the simple reason that there's a giant space underneath the truck here. And that's where I'm going to put my fresh and gray water. It was funny, I was looking for places I could buy diamond plate and aluminum, and I realized that all the shelves I took out of here are aluminum and would work just fine underneath the truck. Just kind of cut them up a little bit. Yeah, so sink, Probably not going to be a big sink. I would like a relatively large sink, but I mean, it's somebody's backing up. It's not me. It's a camper. Fairly large camper, all things considered. Countertop with a inset. Countertop with an inset induction plate for those times that I do want to cook in here instead of out over the fire, which is really my preference. The refrigerator will go down here. I've totally blanked on the brand name, but we'll go over that later. Probably on a pull-out drawer. I considered putting it under a flip-up countertop. That might be actually more trouble than it's worth. So that should come to about here, and then the rest of this is all open space. I can do whatever I want. Probably going to end up putting the diesel heater right here, and above it, the batteries. I'm going to put the batteries on a rack above it just to save space. Most people like to put them on the ground. I can understand that. Lowest potential energy, right? And they are very heavy, but I think I can engineer around it. Plus I'm going to be strapping them down. Inverter, solar converter over here. And the reason I'm putting all this in the back of the truck is so I can put the power right there. Power socket right there, entry into the building, or into the truck. Put the inverter up here, all the wiring, batteries here, lots of space down below for the diesel heater and the diesel, because I'm not tapping my tank. I considered it, and I just don't want to. I don't want to get into it. I just bought that tank. This truck has a brand new fuel tank. don't want to punch any extra holes in it or tap off any old fuel lines and watch them crumble. I just don't want to play with it. So, thus endeth the floor video. Let's see how fast I can get this edited and set up. So, thanks for stopping by. It's been a very busy day and I got a lot done. Kind of proud of myself. Next stop, I need another lumber run because I got to start the framing on the uppers and for the cabinets and all that cool stuff.